welcome to Codes of the Unknown. I'm Andy.
And I'm Ryan.
And with us today, we've got Danny, who's going to be telling us about some of his encounters, and then we're going to have a chat about other stuff as well. So, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself first, or do you want to go straight into it?
Yeah, well, just my name's Danny. I'm from the Northampton area, and I've always been interested in like the unknown, paranormal, anything that's just weird. I love science. So yeah, I'm more than happy to share some of my experiences with you boys, and yeah, just have a little chit chat.
Cool. So, Ryan, any questions before we go on?
Well, yeah. I mean, where did it all start?
I think the first time I experienced something kind of from out of the unknown, I was quite young, and we saw it was during a fireworks display, and I was probably about 10 or 11 years old, and we just saw some weird lights in the sky, and there was quite a few of us there all together.
Yeah.
And obviously, I know it sounds a bit odd because it was fireworks night and whatnot, but we did see a couple of weird yellow lights that were in the sky, and it was just one of those times where, because there were so many of us and so many people saw it, we didn't know whether it was just sort of residual fireworks or Chinese lanterns, but you know, we were all in amazement, just standing at the top of the street looking at these weird lights. And that was when I was younger, and that was one of the first times I just thought, oh, what was that? And it was kind of unexplained. It might have just been something simple, you know, like Chinese lanterns or something like that. But you know, back in the 80s, we weren't aware of those things as kids. So it was always like, oh, what were those things? And we still talk about those weird lights now when I see some of my mates from back then. But yeah, I'd say that's probably one of the first times I experienced something that I couldn't really explain.
Yeah.
And as I was growing up, a few more random things started to happen. Probably one of the most memorable, actually, I'm going to talk about a couple of the most memorable things that have happened. But the first one was when I was living in a council house in Blackthorn, and living in a terrace street. I was hanging out my back window, and there was a young lad on a go-kart hammering down the hill. Right out of the back of my house, it was quite a long hill, and when you get to the bottom of the hill, there's like a little crossroads. And this kid was hammering down the hill, and I just automatically shouted to him, "Stop! Stop! Stop!" I didn't really know why I said it, but all of a sudden, as he skidded and sort of went into the back of my bushes. And then another bike came flying down with the crossroads bit where he would have gone, and they would have hit each other. He weren't on a motorbike or anything like that, and I couldn't see it. But I just, I just sort of shouted. I just knew something was wrong. But I was just hanging out the back of my window. I'd been out there for like 10 minutes, just minding my own business.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first sort of things. And I thought to myself afterwards, I was like, why did I say that to him? Why did I shout that?
So nothing told you to say it. It just popped in your head.
Yeah, it was just, I was just because there was tons of kids out there all playing and doing what they were doing. It was just a normal sunny day, kids messing around, throwing mud bombs, being stupid, you know, kids moving around and whatnot. But he was the only one that was right on the hill, going down the hill. And I had no reason to say to him, you know, stop. And I didn't really know why I was telling him to stop until he stopped. And then like a bike just came hammering through the little bit, and they would have collided.
Yeah.
They would have collided.
That
was one of the first things that I could that I remember feeling quite strange about.
So how old was you that time?
Oh, I was probably about 13, 14, I reckon, something like that. So I was at an age where I was, I was a teenager.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a normal day, and that was one of the first things I just thought that was a bit weird. Why did I do that? And then really didn't think that much about it, to be fair.
Was it daylight? Was it dark?
That was daylight. Yeah, that was middle of the day. I think it was probably around about probably early afternoon, probably like 2 o'clock, something like that. Because I remember my dad used to finish work at about 2 o'clock, and I think it was just after that.
Yeah.
Because he come in, and then I was just sort of upstairs doing what I was doing and whatnot. But yeah, it's probably like midday. Yeah, 2 o'clock ish, something like that.
Oh, right.
But yeah, that one was that was probably one of the first times that I was like, yeah, that was a bit weird. I don't know why I said that, and I don't know why I said it or what the purpose. Well, obviously, there was obviously a reason.
Yeah, something. There's a reason behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it could have just been intuition. You know, me just thinking to myself, this could be likely, but you know, normally in that estate, there's motorbikes whizzing around, and you can normally hear motorbikes cutting through the estate. It was a council estate, so there's always people on motorbikes and doing things on the path they shouldn't have been doing. But there was no motorbike sound. There was nothing like that. It was just a kid on a bike, you know, moving at pace, and it would have wiped. They would have wiped each other out. So that was kind of like the first one.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you could call that ESP, but it was something that I still look back on and go, okay, that was definitely weird. But yeah, the next ones were a bit more significant. Do you want me to continue just talking?
Yeah,
you guys just ask me questions.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just
that's what part of it is, though. It's like, you know, you're the guest as well as me.
Right.
So the way I look at it is, I'm here to listen, and obviously any questions. Yeah,
things I forget, basically.
I'm here to make sure it runs right.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just keep rolling then.
Just before you do, about the UFOs that you've seen on bombing night.
Yes.
How long did it last for, roughly? Can you remember?
Yeah, we're all standing at the top of the road, and there was probably about 16, 17 kids, plus a couple of parents.
And you all seen it?
Oh yeah, we all saw it.
Right.
It was like sort of yellowy white lights. Because I remember on the same night there was that weird fork lightning that was going on as well. It was a very clear night.
Yeah.
But there was lightning going on, but there wasn't any rain.
Right.
And we were watching because I think somebody must have been doing some fireworks over at the Blackthorn Lower School, which is where most of the fireworks seem to be above.
Yeah.
It was a really clear night. No clouds that we could see, but earlier on the night it was lightning, but there was no rain. And like I said, there was probably a good 16 kids, like all at the top. I was quite young, like I said, sort of like, you know, 10, 11, something like that.
Yeah.
And there were some older kids, but yeah, they were like yellowy kind of lights that sort of hung in the air at a particular point. So we were all, obviously there were fireworks going off, but these lights were just staying there. And one of the other lads, I think is my mate Wayne, I still see him, he's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
I think he was the one that sort of pointed out, said, look at those. And then we were all just sort of fixated on these lights, not really caring about the fireworks.
Yeah.
They moved around a little bit. And then after I'd probably say a good 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they just kind of drifted back off and then disappeared. So they sort of looked like they were going back up in the air.
Yeah.
And then just faded into nothing.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. If there was Chinese lanterns, that they kept going with the whatever way the wind's going, whatever direction.
Yeah.
And then they burn out and then they drop down.
Yeah.
But if they're hanging about for a few minutes, it's like they've got their own motion.
Yeah, and for a long time they didn't have any motion.
So
even if they were moving away from us into the distance without like ascending, the lights would have gotten dimmer. Do you know what I mean? Over that period of time, but they weren't. They sort of maintained the same luminosity. They were just still at the same place. And then after a while, they slowly started to look like they were drifting upwards.
Right.
Yes, that was a.
Did you see what shape they was? So was it just like a
just
sort of thing?
It sort of looked like, if you can see the light behind me, just above my head. It was kind of like that. Just a glowing orb ball light. Yeah, it almost looked like. you know, if you were to see a street lamp, if you was in the air and you could look down and see a street lamp on the road, like if you're on a plane or something, it just sort of that sort of same brightness.
Yeah.
You know, bright enough to sort of notice it in amongst the fireworks.
Right.
And noticed it was still there, but it wasn't like mega bright, but it was bright enough for everybody to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was actually quite weird that one.
Yeah.
But the
was that at night? Was
it was night
night?
Yeah, it was nighttime. So it was November 5th. You know, and at that point it was, you know, dark at like 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty much pitch black, other than the street lamps that were lighting up the street, the fireworks that were going on, and you know, whatever light pollution there was from houses and stuff. But I do remember clearly standing there, because it was at the top of Pykemead Court, which is where I lived at the time. We were all standing at the top of the road, and the top of the road is a really long sort of decline to the bottom of the road, and the lights were just above my friend's house. So the road sort of went down, and then the houses, it went down into a sort of trough, and then back up into another hill, and the lights were just above just above his house essentially. So to us, it looked like they were.
Was there just one?
No, there was a couple. I think. I don't think it was just one. From memory, I remember specifically there being one, but I think there was a couple of lights. I don't think it was just one thing. I think it was probably like a cluster of a couple of lights.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain.
Were they like sort of triangle formation?
I don't remember them being like, because I've seen bits about that where, you know, where you sort of see a triangle formation. It kind of looks like the outline of, you know, some sort of craft. But I don't remember them being like that. I don't remember them remaining in a uniform pattern, because I think they sort of did things kind of differently.
Yeah. I'm with you.
They had their own movement.
Well, no, it's like Rendlesham Forest, the UFO that's supposed to went there had 3 lights underneath, weren't it? Triangular shape.
Yeah.
So that's why I ask. Is it seems to be more that sort of shape craft, like is what people are seeing more. It's what I've noticed. It's like you've got the cigar-shaped UFOs, haven't you? You've got different
the Tic Tacs. Go on Tic Tacs, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they've got different shapes in that. So
I know. There's loads. There's loads. So.
But the one in the UK seems to be more that shape, doesn't it?
Yeah.
These ones, I felt like they were individual light sources. I don't know whether they were dependent on each other or what, but
you do get that. You get where it's just like balls of light. It doesn't have any specific shape. They'll either stay as they are individually or merge into each other.
This is actually, I've literally just remembered another one. Where my sister.
I said this to you the other day, didn't I? When I was talking.
Yeah, you did. You did say to me that something else will pop up. The thing is with this one as well, this other one, I've actually got video evidence of this one. Yes, no lie. I will send you a copy afterwards, mate. I'll have to find it. I think my sister's probably got evidence as well. So this one, in terms of lights and weird things in the sky, this was probably like a couple of years ago, because my sister was just moving out of her house. Yeah. She did live on Monarch Road at the bottom of Monarch Road in Kingsthorpe. Anyway, she rang me up. It was early evening. I think it was summertime, because I had shorts on. She rang me up and she was like, Danny, you need to get down to my house now, because there's these weird things in the sky. She was absolutely flipping out.
Yeah.
And she was like, go outside and have a look. So I legged it outside in front of my house, and I was like, I couldn't see anything. I live on a terrace street, so my view of the sky is impeded by the houses. You can't see. You haven't got a clear view of the sky. I can only see pretty much, you know, a little bit. Yeah, what's above me. So I thought, right, okay, let me get in the car. I legged it down to, drove down to Ergath, which is only like 2 minutes away. Yeah. Her front door was open. So I was like, shit, this is real. Like, what's happening? Yeah. So I ran in a house, ran upstairs, because I figured that she'd just be upstairs. She was in the bathroom. She was like, look at this, look out there. And as soon as I looked out, I was like, oh, what is that? I was absolutely like, I was stunned as to know what the hell it was.
Yeah.
So there was 5 of them, and they were like pinky. They weren't lights because they didn't really look like they were emanating their own light source, but I'd say these pinky kind of lights. Now, it was early evening, so it was kind of dusky anyway. So the sky was very much like your current background, where you've got, you know, like really nice pinks and blues, all of that stuff. There was a few clouds in the sky, but these things were 100% not related to clouds or anything like that.
Yeah,
there was 5 of them, and they kept fading in and out. And me and my sister were like, what? She was going, what are they? What are they? I grabbed the camera and was just like, yo, I've got to get this because this is just nuts. I was like, is it a weather phenomenon? Is it like, because I've seen weird cloud formations and stuff like that before. And I was like, this is not them. And at the time, I think I was Googling on another phone as well, figuring out what's going on. But they were moving independently of each other, fading in and out, traveling across the sky pretty much together, but also not together.
Yeah, so not in formation.
No, not in a formation, but it's like they were loosely huddled together.
Yeah, like
but still,
you would get sheep sort of thing.
Yeah, if they were moving across to, you know, chew a bit of cud or whatever, they'd all sort of go across together, but they're all doing their own
together, but they're going in their own direction.
But they're going in the wrong direction. So yeah, for a good probably 15, 20 minutes, we were sitting there just watching them like, what the hell is that?
Really?
I was absolutely stumped. My sister was like in tears with
really?
Kind of, because she's super hyped on this kind of stuff. So she was so hyped up with everything. I think it was an overwhelming kind of emotion that we're actually seeing something like this, because I don't get to see stuff like that. Like, you know, I remember that thing from when I was younger, but you know, after so much time, you start to believe like, is this a real thing? Is it a nostalgia filter? Is it like, you know, is it something that your brain's just, you filling in the gaps? But again, with that one, there were so many people there, and with this one, you know, I was there with my sister, and I've got video evidence as well, which I'll happily send across to you. And you can listen to our commentary, mate, because it's literally, I think at that point as well, I was watching, is it Secure Team? On the Secure Team used to do like YouTube videos. I don't know if he still does now, but he used to do videos all about like, you know, weird phenomenon and stuff in the sky.
Oh, right.
And I think I actually quoted in the video, I was like, oh my God, I'm actually going to send this to Secure Team, because you see people sending in videos going, nobody's going to believe me, blah, 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 blah. And obviously this one, but that was, those lights. And then they, you know, after about 15, 20 minutes, they just kind of just faded away and just disappeared. And they didn't sort of show. And then I remember going on to like news articles that evening to see if anybody else had seen them around Northampton, or if, you know, there was any kind of other weather phenomenon being reported, or anything like that. And I couldn't find anything.
Nothing.
I couldn't find anything, and to this day we still don't know what it was. I think at the time I was quite convinced that it was some sort of weather phenomenon, and it had to be, because it seemed too blatant for, you know, if there was if there was something there, you'd think to yourself, wow, they're doing this in broad daylight. Like, do they not know that it could be seen? Or, you know, like, it just seemed a little bit like, would they be like, if I was scouting out another planet, would I be making maneuvers during the daytime, or would I kind of wait until the shadow of night and be like, put my stealth mode on or whatever?
Well, these are the questions, though. When we do see stuff like this, you always ask yourself, like, do they know that they can be seen, or are they doing it on purpose to be seen? It's like anything. That's one of the main questions. Why did they show themselves? What purpose? To show us that they are there, when they could easily hide behind clouds or go wherever.
What's the reason? I think it's a mindset thing.
In what way do you think, Ryan? What do you mean?
Well, if you're sending that signal out that you want to, that you reckon about the third density, fourth density, and the fifth density, in levels of human consciousness, I think if you sort of ain't got that, you got that open-mindedness to the point that anything's sort of possible.
Anything's possible.
Maybe they can pick up on this thing, and that's why people not sort of get chosen, but it's why you can sort of, if you sort of want to see
You
them,
can
maybe
home in on it.
maybe you've just got to literally send a signal out there for probably, you know, as long as it, you know, probably every day, a bit like just like a prayer that you just want to maybe when you go to the woods or you're on your own, always at the time where you ain't got no camera. And then you have your encounter. I mean, it's like you watching me now. Like, it gets like that, doesn't it?
And they're taking the mick. They know, don't they? They know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been a believer of, you know, I definitely don't think we are the only, you know, sentient being in our galaxy, let alone the universe. Because I think, I mean, you know, I'm a very scientific based person. You know, mathematically, there's something called the Drake equation, which calculates the likelihood of, you know, civilizations being, you know, at our level of technology or above, based on, you know, stars, based on planets circling those stars, based on those planets having, you know, the building blocks for life, water, etc., and then having, you know, it even calculates the fact that some of these civilizations could have, you know, killed themselves by this point. But even with that, you know, that equation states that there should be around about, you know, 10,000 civilizations at our level of technology or above, alone in our galaxy.
Just in our galaxy,
just in the Milky Way, because people, it's, you know, it's so vast. You know, people talk about, oh, you know, I'm going to win, you know, £1 million on the lottery, and people think, oh, £1 million not that much money. And then when somebody wins like 40 million, or when you talk about something like, you know, Elon Musk, who's, you know, a multi-billionaire, and if people think about those numbers and think, oh yeah, he's a billionaire, he's a millionaire, but you don't realise how big those zeros are. And when you start thinking about, you know, Elon Musk has got so much money that basically he couldn't spend all of his money in, like, you know, 32 years, even if he spent like £1 million every 2 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Whatever it works out to be, some ridiculous calculation.
Yeah.
But yeah, space is so vast. So why would there not be? Why would we be the only ones? Mathematically, if we're here by chance, then surely that exists somewhere else, you know. And even if there is some sort of divine creator, there's a lot of space out there. Why would creator just choose to create and just do one thing? Seems a little bit of a waste, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I've got a book. It basically says we're here. We're created to mine gold.
Is it what?
Is that a universe?
Literally, it says we're here. We were created from another race to mine gold for what we call gods, but this is what I know. There's different races out there above our.
We're the seventh creation. There was 6 previous. That wasn't good enough. And we're the 7th,
right?
And we managed to do it or something.
I've not heard of this, like 6th, 7th incarnation. What is all of this?
So we was created to mine gold. So then they took all this gold because it was like the most precious stone in the whole universe. Right. And it took them thousands of years to create man, use us as skivvies, basically, to get all this gold. But then apparently towards the end, we turned around and was like, no, you're not having it now. Get lost. The long and short of it.
And decided to keep all the gold for ourselves.
And then did they go to war with him or something? Ryan?
I don't know. You've lost me, mate. Even I didn't know this bit.
Did you know? I'm sure. I don't think I'm wrong.
No, but I'm not saying you're not. That's why I'm quiet, because I'm listening.
Yeah, so we started mining all this gold from, and then I'm sure it's something to do with Anubis.
Right.
The
No,
god,
I'm going way
Anubis.
back.
Yes,
This is going back.
Egyptian god.
it's something. I'm sure I might be completely wrong on this.
It is Dogman.
Yeah, that's the. I was going to say that's the dog god, isn't it? Or the
Anubis.
one that's
Well, you know I can't say it, Sphinx in Egypt.
Yeah.
You reckon that's not a dog? That's not a cat. It was actually Anubis. It had a longer snout. It's just been snapped off, and they reckon it had the head of a dog and not a cat.
Possibly there are some other like references though to the dog type creatures, and they do look slightly different though, don't they? To the to the actual sphinxes.
Yeah.
So there's
basically
there's 2D ones, isn't there? So I thought the sphinxes were just sphinxes, but
well, it's supposed to be. Everyone thought that it was some sort of feline, but actually it's a canine. That's what I've read.
It definitely it's about the head, but what about the body? The body.
Well, that's another thing.
Like
the head is a much bigger proportion to what the body is, so they reckon there's parts missing off the body as well.
Yeah, I know they've chipped off like bits. You know, they try and say that it's weathering and stuff like that, but obviously, like a lot of the carvings and the sculptures that they've knocked bits off the faces.
Yeah.
Especially the nose area to sort of hide what it possibly could have looked like, what it was going on. Yeah.
Well, they filled the top of the head up.
Well, they reckon that the pyramids were covered in gold.
Covered in gold.
Completely covered in gold.
I've not heard that one.
Yeah, I've not heard that. I've heard
I heard that
the actual.
That's a theory. That was on Ancient Aliens. Watched that a couple of years ago now. Yeah, they reckon that it was completely covered in gold. And another theory is that it wasn't the Egyptians that built the pyramids. The pyramids were built before the Egyptians got there.
Oh yeah, mate.
Well,
that's what I said to you, Anna. Definitely.
Yeah, but that was on it. That was on Ancient Aliens as well. The guy with the hair.
Because I know when like Nefertiti was in, the actual pyramids were built like 5,000 years based on carbon dating before like Nefertiti and those guys were in there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who they were built by. I thought it was just the slaves.
They were built by the Atlanteans.
You keep saying that. But that's another thing. They reckon that.
I ain't joking.
They reckon that Egypt was covered in water, which it probably was hundreds of thousands of years ago. Obviously, as the Earth's drying out, it goes through different stages, like with the Ice Age and then droughts and different parts of the world. All environments change.
Technically, we're still in the Ice Age now, apparently.
Yeah, well, I heard that the UK is in the middle of becoming tropical.
Yeah, I've read stuff where they've sort of said that, in about 70 or 80 years, we're probably going to be underwater. And there's not really going to be a Britain left, obviously, because of our polar ice caps melting.
Yeah, and we're just a little island.
Yeah, it will just be literally a little bit left in the middle. Everything else will just be engulfed by water.
We need to buy a big boat then. That's what we need to do then.
Well, I need to move to Leicester.
Oh, mate, Leicester's gone, mate. It's going to be underwater. Don't worry about Leicester. You need to get to like Snowdon and start living up there.
Yeah. Well, or Ben Nevis.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you got, isn't it?
Yeah, but like a lot of it's theories and guesswork. Because obviously there's no one around. A lot of the information that they had has been lost. And then they're trying to decipher hieroglyphics and all that. And how can you decipher something that no one really knows what it is?
It's hidden knowledge. It's how this knowledge is
guesswork. A lot of it's guesswork. I know they're picking up on patterns and all that kind of stuff. There are patterns in it somewhere, so obviously
the clever science behind the pyramids and the shafts in the pyramids and the fact that they line up with constellations with an erring accuracy that we can't even recreate now is,
they line up with Orion's belt, don't they?
They do, yeah, they do. And even the, the pyramids at Giza and then at the other places, how big they are also represent the same size as the stars in the belt as well.
Geometry on them.
Yeah, geometrically, yeah.
Spot on.
From where they're translocated, from where they're, from how they sit on the ground, even the distances are equidistant between what we can actually see in the stars as well, which is just how would they have even done that?
Yeah, same as Stonehenge. At certain times of the year, that lines up like the summer and winter equinox.
Is that yeah? I've heard this part of the solstice or something like that.
Yeah, summer and winter solstice.
It's clever. It's very very clever. And you think obviously that was thousands of years ago,
and we can't do it now.
And we can't even recreate that type of stuff now.
It's madness. It really is.
It is a madness.
It's lost knowledge, though, isn't it?
But they reckon as well with the lost knowledge. It was is it Alexander the Great's library? It burnt down, and a lot of past human records of how we did stuff, all the technology, how things were made and worked. They lost it all in that.
I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know that was
that burnt to the ground, and he had like books that like one-off books. So it's like the original book. There's no copies of these scriptures. And it all went. I can't remember how or why, but it ended up burning to the ground, and we lost knowledge.
It's probably due to religion. I'm sure it's probably due to religion.
Yeah. We've had this discussion, haven't we, Andy? Before.
Yeah. How many times?
It always comes down to this one, I'm guessing, doesn't it?
Well, that's it. It's lost knowledge. A lot of it is.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. Like the stuff that could have been in there, maybe could have been ways that we could tap into, our own technology in our own bodies. Because obviously we are still evolving. I think we're definitely still evolving, and I definitely believe in like evolution. And like I said, I'm very scientific based, and who's to say that some of the stuff that could have been in there could have unlocked ways in which we could communicate with each other, which is why some people have residual things happening to them, which kind of links into what I was going to say about the most prevalent sort of ESP thing that I've had happen to me. So yeah, that one. So basically, my dad had a really bad car accident back in '96, and that morning he went to work. He was working at Market Harbour Leisure Centre, and he used to do like aerobics and all that kind of stuff. And that Saturday morning, I woke up. This is a prequel to the story, by the way. That Saturday morning, I woke up. I was sitting on the stairs, and my dad was going out to work. It was about 8:05 in the morning because he needed to be at work at 9 o'clock. He was just leaving the house. I heard him say upstairs, like he'd shouted upstairs, "See you later, Trace." He obviously thought I was still in bed. But I was sitting on the stairs, and I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything to him. I watched him go out the door, and he went, "See you later, Trace." And I was like, I wanted to say, "See you later, Dad," but I just didn't. And then about an hour later, I picked up the telephone, and it was the hospital. And they said, "Hiya, can I speak to Tracy Clemrnt?" I was like, "Oh, my mum's in the shower in bed," or whatever it was at the time. And I said, "What's the matter?" And she went, "Oh, it's your dad. He's had a car accident." And I was like, "Please don't tell me he's dead. Please don't tell me he's dead." And she was like, "No, your dad's fine. Like, he's just had a bit of a bump. He might have broken his leg." She was trying to play it down to me because my dad was in a real bad way.
Really?
But that little moment where I didn't say goodbye to my dad, I still believe that if I would have said goodbye then I would have been saying goodbye to him.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
In a final sense, because
that's just give me goosebumps. All that you saying that.
Wow.
Just having that moment where I was sitting on the stairs, I watched him go out the door, and I would never watch my dad go out the door without saying goodbye. It was a very even at the time I was like, why didn't I say goodbye to him? And then I just brushed the thought off and just, you know, carried about my business. Had breakfast, watching a DJ Cat show, as you did when you're like a young lad. And then I took the phone call a bit later on that day, and then I mean, he was in hospital for a good couple of months. You know, intensive care, seriously bad way. Yeah, punctured lungs, fractured skull, broken bones all over the place. Like, lucky to be alive. Very lucky to be alive, and he's still alive now. So, thank the lucky stars in that. But yeah, I thought it was worth mentioning that one.
Yeah,
because it leads on to the next one. So. Me and this was so that was in 96 or 97 in September. Now this happened a couple of years later, so this was probably like 98 or 99. This was in the summer, and another Saturday, me and my friend Nina, who I'm still good pals with, me and my friend Nina were heading into town to go to the Northampton Fair. Because I don't know if you know, but Northampton, they used to have a town fair every year. You know, the Abington Street will be locked off. They'll have like big wheels and all that kind of stuff just to have a fair there. So anyway, we were like, yeah, let's go to the fair. We were planning it for ages, because when you're kids, that's all you've got. You know, we didn't have mobile phones. There weren't no Facebook, so the fair was the place to go and like spend all your money and whatnot. So anyway, we got a bus into town. It was just gone midday. Fair was absolutely heaving. We walked through the Grosvenor Centre, and we come out onto the Market Square. Yeah. And on the Market Square, they had like a Helter Skelter ride, loads of mini stalls. They had that ride called the Hellraiser, which you sort of sit in it. Two of you sit in a car, and it spins around and hammers you around, and the car spins out sideways like that. So you're hanging out of it. G-force. Yeah, you're hanging out of it. So anyway, Nina was like, yeah, let's go on here. So we got on there, got on that ride, and we started to spin around. Nina was on the inside of the ride. I was on the outside of the ride because she wanted to go on the inside for whatever reason. But I think she obviously got in first. We were hammering around on the ride. I could hear fairground noises, all of that sort of stuff happening. We're both like laughing and joking, like, because we were spinning around on the ride. And all of a sudden, I looked up at the sky as I was whizzing around. I saw a plane go overhead. There was no clouds in the sky whatsoever. I was watching a plane go overhead, as obviously we're spinning around. So the plane was sort of spinning as well, because obviously we were spinning. Everything went really clear in my head, and I was just looking up at that. And then I was like, I just turned to Nina and went, Nina, I said, my mum's had a car accident. And she's like, what are you talking about? And obviously we're whizzing around on this ride like, and people were screaming and stuff. And I was like, Nina, I said, I need to go. My mum's had a car accident. Even thinking about it now is actually giving me goosebumps. So anyway, the ride stopped, and I was still very much like, Nina, I've got to go. My mum's had a car accident. And she was like, no, we've just got into town. Like, let's just stay and da-da-da-da-da. So we stayed for a little bit longer, maybe about 20, 30 minutes. But I was like, I've got to go, Nina. I've got to go. So anyway, went back into the bus station. Nina was like, I wanted to stay at the fair, blah, 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 blah. But I was just totally focused and thinking, shit, my mum's had a car accident. Yeah, you just want to get going. Yeah, and that thought that I had, it wasn't like the thought popped into my head. It was like the thought was forced into my head. Like, and that's the only way put it there. That's the only way I can describe it. It was like it hit me, like just came into my head. But it's so difficult to explain it. But anyway,
that's your senses, though, isn't it? That's your probably behind it. Quick question.
Yeah, so when you got this far, did you hear it in your voice?
No, it's not even like I heard somebody saying it. It was like, I now know this. Right. It was like
you just realised something.
It's like it just came into my head. It's not like somebody was saying it. that's what I mean, because at that time when it was all sort of happening and it all became really clear, and I turned around to Nina and looked at her and I was like, my mum's had a car accident. It was like it came into me and then I just said it to her. And obviously this is why we're freaking hammering around on the ride like last ride of the night, blah, 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 you know what I mean? The freaking guys are going crazy and stuff. But it was that moment of clarity and it just felt like it was just whoosh, kind of straight into my head. Anyway, it's like I said, we're I probably didn't stay at the fair for longer than half an hour. Got on the number 51 bus. We were both sitting at the back of the bus upstairs. We're heading home. I was very much like, yo, Nina, I've got to get home. And I was very much sort of shook up by this. And I wasn't even questioning why I would think that, because I just wasn't even questioning it. So anyway, we get to Western Fayval.
Yeah.
And I looked down at the side of the road and I was like, Nina, look. And my dad's car was folded around the Western Fayval like road sign, which tells you where to go and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was like, Nina, that's my dad's fucking car.
Jesus.
And we both stood there sitting there looking at each other. It's making me like,
That proper agitated.
Well, not agitated, but like it's giving me goosebumps, like to think about it, because it was so real. Like, so I looked down, I was like, Nina, that's my dad's car. And it was folded around a road sign. The front window was cracked. It wasn't completely open, but my dad was driving an Astra Belmont. It was a blue one. And it was a dodgy car because he'd obviously just smashed his previous car up in a really bad accident a couple of years prior. And I turned to Nina and I was like, look, Nina, there's my dad's car. And she's like, no. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, wait, because I thought my original thing was my mum's had a car accident, but actually it was my dad that had the accident. So whatever it was that I thought came through a little bit muddled or whatever it was, but I thought it was my mum, but it was my dad's car that was down there. So anyway, at that point, I turned to her and I was like, yo, that's my dad's car. She was like, no way. I think I got off at the stop early because normally the bus stops at like a couple of stops around. It goes round the wrong way to get to my house, but I got off and I legged it to my house with Nina. Walked in the front door and I was like, Dad, are you all right? Dad, are you all right? And he went, yeah, I'm good. And I walked into the kitchen. My mum was standing there with my Uncle Philip and my sister and my dad. My Uncle Philip had a massive lump on his head because he was in the passenger seat not wearing a seatbelt, and he'd obviously hit himself. And I said to my mum, she was kind of like white as a ghost, and I said, Mum, I knew. And she went, yeah, so did I. She goes, I was in Tesco doing the shopping, and I left all of the shopping and left the trolley because I knew in my head that Errol, my dad, had just had a car accident. She went straight home, literally left the shopping in Tesco. And I said, I knew. And she went, yeah, I knew as well.
So do you think that you got the message it was your mum because you got it from your mum?
I don't know. That's what I mean. We talked about it later on in the day. And I was like, I said to my mum, I was like, me and Nina were on a ride. But I said, I just knew in my head, I thought you'd had an accident. Yeah. And she was like, well, I got in my head that Dad had an accident, but we talked about it, but it was just very matter of fact. Like, I thought it was this, I thought it was that, but we didn't really explore it any further. But we both knew that we'd obviously experienced something that we both couldn't explain, but we just didn't talk about it anymore until years later. Yeah. But yeah, that experience was probably the most. Yeah, I mean, I can't explain it. I can't explain why I had that thought come into my head. I can't explain the fact that my mum knew as well, and she knew, I knew, I had a witness there.
So was it at the same time?
Yeah. It was actually at pretty much at the time it happened, because
Seconds, minutes.
I would say within 10 minutes.
Really?
Because me and Nina were on that ride, and that ride happened for a couple of minutes, and then we were there for another maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I'd got on the bus to go home. And that took the 51 would normally take about 25 minutes.
Right.
From town to Blackthorn. So when I saw my dad's car there, it had probably only been there for about half an hour tops. So it was well within that time frame of me getting that message.
Yeah.
Wherever it came from. And then obviously, it was probably at exactly the same time. My mum, because it took my mum a little while to get home from leaving the shopping.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's mad.
That's consciousness, though, isn't it? It's like energies picking up
It's
each other's
something.
thoughts.
If you're
There's
both getting the same, a very, very similar message. Obviously, yours was your mum, and your mum's was her husband's.
Yeah.
There's something there. There's got to be.
Definitely. I just, there's no way that I could have. I would just randomly make that up, or do you know what I mean? And I think, which is why I sort of mentioned, the first time my dad had the accident, and then I felt really weird about not saying goodbye to him.
Was it a similar feeling? Can you remember?
Yeah, kind of, in the way that it just made me question why that just happened. So, with the first one, I just didn't say goodbye to him. But that feeling of not saying goodbye, it was almost like I didn't want to say goodbye, or I couldn't say goodbye. It went against anything that I would normally do. Like if my parents were leaving, of course I'd say goodbye to them. I'd say, I love you, Mum, or I love you, Dad, I'll see you later, or whatever. But that time I didn't say it. So it was just that I was like, why did I not say goodbye to my dad? And then an hour later, there was, I took the phone call. And then this one, we were on a ride spinning around. I had, my parents, I wasn't even thinking about my parents at the time because I was a young lad. We'd just got to the fair. You know what I mean? My focus was on enjoying myself. We were on the Hellraiser ride, just messing around and just being kids. And then that thought was just like, woof. And then I was like, my mum's had a car accident.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even, I didn't even have time to think. It was like it just came out of me. So I don't.
Just with you saying you was focusing on the plane, you think that's got any I can't speak, relevance to it?
I don't know. I have thought about that because it was something that I was looking up at the time, but maybe not so much the plane, but maybe more so just looking up at the sky, possibly.
Yeah, just focusing on something other than what you was doing.
Yeah, it was definitely a moment of clarity in amongst all of the crazy sounds and noises and smells and lights and everything that you experience when you're at a fair or in the middle of a ride.
It's pretty much something that dragged you away from all that.
Yeah, so maybe there was some significance in it, but I couldn't say whether it was. Point. Yeah, or whether the plane or something acted as a satellite, or whether that was where the thought was coming from above, or no clue. But that was the vivid moment. Jesus. That was the vivid moment.
Well, because obviously it's family. I think if you, sorry, hang on, bear with me.
That's all right.
That connection. Because obviously it's genes, that kind of thing. It's sort of natural. If someone's in distress or needs help, then they'll know. It's a bit like lines, isn't it? A pride of lines. If they need help, they send a signal and the rest come. It could be a similar sort of thing. It's like with. I know what you mean because I've had that before. Where you think something's bad happened.
Mm.
So that's. I'm glad that there's someone else out there so I don't feel alone as well. To talk about a lot of stuff, even what we talk about, Andy, it's like
it's energies. It's all different types of energy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Everything's made up of energy, and there's
Yeah.
different forms.
Yeah, and you either
So
got good positive energy or negative, like bad.
yeah,
I think with this one, it was so specific. Like, I've had little, like I said, stopping that potential accident, and the other bit with my dad, but this one was just so specific and so clear. Apart from the fact that I was like, my mum's had a car accident, but actually it was my dad. It was just, it was more. Yeah, it was like we were either on the same wavelength or that there was definitely something else that was going on. But I think there was, I think that's, it's a bit like, when you sort of see, twins where they're told to think about something, and the twins are tested, identical twins are tested, and can they draw the same image, and are they experiencing the same sort of things? It almost felt something like that, because I think at the time I was obviously living with my parents, and I was very connected with my mum, and she's had weird things happen to her as well that she can't explain. Won't maybe save those for another time, but she's had things happen to her, and she's experienced odd phenomena as well. So maybe the message maybe it came from her. Maybe she was the one that was telling me, get back home.
And that's why you picked up mum.
That's why I picked up the mum and not the dad. But the fact that she knew makes me think, well, maybe it could have been my dad, or the distress of that instant of having an accident. Because he said the reason why he crashed is because the sun was reflecting off the car in front.
Right. So it was daylight. That was my next question.
It was the middle of the day, so it was probably like summertime, height of the day. So the sun was very high in the sky.
And you're looking up at the sky.
I was looking up at the sky. My dad was trying to. Yeah, the reflection from the other car was blinding him, and that's why he ran into the back of. He was going to hit the back of another car, and then he swerved and then hit the post to sort of save hitting the other car, which is why his car was around the post.
Another question: when you was on was it Hellraiser? Did you say?
Hellraiser.
Did you notice his son as you was looking up?
No, I didn't. It was I think where we were, the sun was high in the sky, but I couldn't see.
Oh, you was on Market Square, weren't you?
I was on the Market Square, so it could have been.
So where the Grosvenor Centre and all that is, and the bus station, you're pretty closed in, aren't you?
It was pretty closed in, so it might have been the fact that there were just buildings there, but I don't remember seeing the sun specifically in the sky. I remember seeing the plane going overhead.
Yeah.
And I think that was the moment where I was like, it just kind of floated in.
No, I'm just thinking, like, trying to link stuff together. Like, with the plane going in the direction of where your dad was, or...
Ooh. I don't know. I wouldn't like to say it was or it wasn't.
I don't want to put thoughts in your head, but I'm just trying to think of. I don't specifically remember the direction of the plane. I remember the plane spinning around because obviously, from my point of view, everything was spinning, and I just remember it was clear. I didn't see any clouds, and there was just the plane. I don't even think that the plane had, vapor trails behind it or anything like that. It was just the plane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any airports near?
Luton's probably the nearest. Obviously, there's Sywell Aerodrome, which has small biplanes. But that plane was, it was in the sky. It was like 36,000 feet. Yeah.
East Midlands, Luton.
So was it flying back to either one of these airports or?
No clue. I think if anything's going over Northampton, I think it's probably, I don't know. It could be going somewhere or coming back.
Birmingham, London.
Yeah, it could be going anywhere. It could have just been going up north, I guess, or going somewhere down south, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was. I'm trying to think about any other details I can remember from that day. I remember Nina being so freaked out by it, and I was sort of mad that she didn't understand, because obviously we'd just gone down to go to the fair, so she was like, "Why are we leaving?" Like, you know.
Yeah, she just wanted to stay.
But when she saw my dad's car, and we both looked at each other, then she was like, "Oh shit!" Like, you know, that's this is whatever's happened is legit. It's real. This is the reason why you feel the way that you feel. And yeah, she was in there like when we walked into the house as well, because she came in. She obviously knew my family and stuff. So yeah.
Any smells or anything? Anything
smells?
Different? Yeah. Not that I don't know if it makes any difference, but
not that I can remember. Not that I can remember. Obviously, I remember like the smells of the fair, and when I think about it, it reminds me of
toffee apples.
It was very much that sweet, sticky smell of, you know, your teeth are going to rot if you have everything, you know, if you eat stuff there. It was just, you know, what fair smell like.
Normal black peas and all that.
Yeah, it's a mix of like sweet smells and then also the diesel smell from, like, you know, the engines on the ride. So it's that kind of mix of smell. But I just, you know, at that moment, it was very much, there was nothing. It was just me looking up at the sky.
Was you like taken out the zone, you think, of what you was doing?
Yeah, definitely, because we were on that ride spinning around, and then I felt like I was just there. I didn't really feel Nina. I didn't really feel like I was on a ride. I didn't really feel like.
Do you know if you could hear the music still and the lights and all that, or was it like you was put in a bubble?
It was very much like I was trying to say, like it was just a moment of clarity. Like I couldn't hear anything else. Yeah. When I was looking up and I had that, and then I just turned to her and said, you know, my mum's had a car accident. We were whizzing around, but I was aware of it, but I wasn't aware of it, if you know what I mean.
You wasn't in that moment.
No, I very much out of my current surroundings. I was very much out of it. It shifted my whole mood. It completely shifted my whole mood, because obviously I was like pumped up, the fair, woo, you know.
Yeah.
Because we planned to spend the entire day and evening down there. I had like 25 quid, which was amazing back then. I was living like a king, you know. You get multiple rides, multiple fish and chips. Like, I'm ready to be sick 3 or 4 times. Let's go. But you know, I had no plans of leaving in the fashion that I did. So yeah. Yeah, that was that little moment, and I've not had anything happen like that since. From what I can remember, yeah, nothing happened as significant and as.
I don't think I've ever had anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, my one of my good friends I used to work with, I won't name her, but she told a story about her friend. Because I told her my story. She told me a story about her friend, who their nan was really poorly, and their nan was at home. The guy, I think her grandson was looking after his nan. He was on a plane going to Australia, and while he was on the plane, like just about to take off, he was like, "Oh, my nan's just died." He was like, "My nan's just died." And he told his girlfriend at the time, and she was like, "Oh, look, you know, obviously they'd literally just taken off, so they had to wait until they got to Singapore to actually call back up and find out whether his nan had actually passed away." So as soon as they landed, they made a call, and she said to me, it was literally to the minute when he had that moment of my nan's just died to when she actually did pass away, and she was poorly, but she wasn't gravely ill.
It wasn't expected.
It wasn't expected, because otherwise he wouldn't have gone, you know what I mean, be going on holiday with his girlfriend. She was poorly, but yeah, that one was like, literally, he felt it was just a message that came into his head, and he just knew. He just sort of knew that was what was going on. And obviously, when he called up, it was literally like to the minute that
Really?
that she passed away. So it's nuts, isn't it? It's nuts. But none of you two have ever experienced anything like that.
I've had stuff where I thought about something and then it's happened, but I just thought I've never thought anything of it other than that. Until I've spoke to you about this tonight, I can't pinpoint anything exactly. I'd have to like dig into the back of my head, not literally, but I'd have to like start writing.
Yeah,
sure. I'll start writing stuff down, but there are times it's like, well, you know Becky, don't you? You knew Becky before me. It's like we'll be chatting, could be anything, absolutely anything, and then we'll, believe it or not, we do sing out of tune, but we'll sing. We'll be talking about something, and we'll just sing the line out of a song, or we'll say something that we're both made up at the same words at the same time. Oh, she go, I was going to say that, because I'll beat you to it, or then she'll do it, and
it's weird. I think you do get a bit of a synergy when you're with that, another person. I think you can get that kind of, you get in sync, don't you, with somebody else.
Yeah,
it's a bit like
I've done that before.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's a bit like obviously, like when my sisters, obviously being sisters, they're always sharing things about women issues that men don't get to experience. And they when my granddad was poorly. It's almost 2 years ago now. So my granddad was poorly, and passed away from cancer like two Septembers ago. They would often sync up in their cycles, the menstruation cycle. So they'd often sync up, but they would do it even though they weren't with each other. And normally women do that when they spend a lot of time with each other.
Yeah.
But because they were both focused on this same thing, my granddad looking after my granddad, they'd often sync up in that kind of cycle. And it was like it's what is that? Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah,
it's such a weird thing.
Yeah, you know what? Sorry, you just reminded me of something. Yeah. I've had it where I've been thinking about someone, someone I've not spoke to for a bit. Within 10 seconds, my phone will ring and it'll be that person.
Yeah,
that's happened quite a lot. I think that's not that rare, to be honest.
That's law of attraction.
Is that law of attraction?
Yeah, law of attraction is where basically whatever you want in life, you can get. You just got to believe, achieve, and receive. I think that's what it is.
Just a quick one.
But I've had exactly what you're saying, Andy.
Yeah,
I've had
just
that within.
Have you ever read the book, The Secret? And it's about laws of attraction.
I've got it.
Yes,
I read it a few years ago.
Yeah, my sister got that for me on DVD.
Borrowed it off my mate's mum.
And
it's like, I'm reading it, I'm thinking it's a bit out there. But then you get halfway through, it's like, no, it does actually make sense.
Yeah.
You have laws of chaos, laws of attraction, and I think there's 5, isn't there, in total? Can't remember the others. But I'd have to look it up. But yeah, definitely, that's a very odd book.
It's all about mindset.
Yeah.
Again, it's the same thing with this.
Mind over matter.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of it.
I had an experience like that the other week when I went to my nan's, and I went to my nan's because obviously she lives alone. Went to my nan's, pulled up on the driveway, was knocking on a door, and I knew she was there because I could see the TV was on. Banging on the door, and she didn't answer the door. So I got back in the car and I thought, let me ring her, just because obviously she might have the TV up so loud that she can't hear the door knocking. And when I rang her, she went, "Oh, I was just thinking about you." And I was like, "That's probably because I've been banging on your door for the last 2 minutes." But again, it was just one of those things where obviously she'd just thought about me, and I was literally outside the house like banging on the door. So yeah, it's.
I have. You know what? I have actually got a story. I've just remembered it.
All right.
This is weird. It's nothing major. It's just like a little, but it's weird. So, when I lived in Manchester, I lived with my ex. we was going buying a car. Now, what we had to do, though, we had to get where we was, one side, we had to get to another part of Manchester.
I think I'm dropping signal here, boys.
No, I can hear you fine.
Oh, okay.
Ryan?
Was that dish, like a bit of an interference coming then?
I didn't hear nothing. Mine was fine.
Yeah, I heard something.
Right, I don't know. So we was one side of Manchester. I had to get to the other side. Had no money to get it. All I needed was enough for a family ticket, which was about £6. So we had to go to the other side of Manchester, pick her wages up, to then get the train up to Yorkshire to get this car. So we stood there like, I've got no money. I don't get paid for like another 2 days. I had like 20p in my bank or something. And we stood outside the shop, and I just looked down at my feet, and there's a £10 note, fresh one, right next to this railing, within 3 inches of my foot. Come out of note. It wasn't there 2 seconds earlier because the youngest was in a pushchair, and it just appeared out of nowhere.
Did you pick it up?
Got on the bus, got the wages, jumped on the train, drove back from Yorkshire in the car.
Mad.
How do you explain that? And there's loads of people about. It wasn't windy. It was just a normal. No, not windy, nothing. It was just a normal day, and it just appeared out of nowhere. It's fresh, like it had just been printed.
And it was just sitting there, like I hadn't.
There's nothing there before. No, because my youngest son, he's probably just over a year, about 14 months or something. So I was making sure he had his bottle and all that, and he was all right. So I'd been looking down anyway, and then turned around to talk, and then turn back, and there's a tenner there. So yeah, that's probably about it. That's as good as it gets.
So I missed that a little bit because I think my connection's terrible.
Right. No, I was just saying. 1 minute there's nothing there. The next minute it's within seconds. There's a £10 note next to my feet.
Yeah, that's a strange one.
Or no, just coincidence. Don't know.
Could someone have dropped it out of the pocket, or
there's no one else about? There's a couple of people, but there's over the other side of the main road. Don't know.
Could it have been a slight chance where you sort of seen it?
You hear me? Anybody hear me?
Huh?
Yeah, me, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear me. I'm going to try and switch to. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay. I think you guys can hear me, but I might not be able to hear you. Let me just see if I can switch to 4G because this is really annoying.
No, you're all right. A bit of a leg stretch anyway.
It's more editing for Andy to do. That's what it is.
No, I'm not. No, this is going out as it is. I'm not messing about.
What
you see is what you get. These are the better ones.
Can you guys see me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
See
Cool. Awesome.
We're not doing editing anymore. We're just going to throw it out there. I think it's better.
Fair play. Yeah, it's natural, isn't it? It's a bit more of a raw, uncut.
Yeah. Raw and uncut live feed.
Raw and uncut.
No, this is a podcast, Andy. It's the live stream.
No, but I'm saying for the live stream, we call it raw and uncut.
You ought to come on the live stream.
Might get the wrong type of viewers, but...
Oh, God.
You have to come on the live stream with us.
Fridays at 9 o'clock. When
Raw and
people
uncut
can be bothered
Fridays.
to turn up.
It's not be bothered. I physically had to get a tender sorted.
You've known for 2 weeks. Friday 9 o'clock.
Yeah, no, but
last minute. Sorry, Andy, can't make it.
Yeah, no, I'm stuck.
Look, I managed to get mate on from Bedford, so it worked too bad.
You're a lad, you are.
It was good. It was a good one. But yeah. Anyway, going back to what we was talking about on topic, is that everything that you've encountered, that you've experienced?
I think so. Yeah, I think the ones I can remember. There's probably going to be something else that pops into my head after this call, and I'll be like, "Oh no, I could have mentioned that one as well." Because, like I said, I completely forgot about my that weird 5 light jobby with my sister. But yeah, I think they're the most significant things for me. And you know, and that's something that I can sort of say, like, you know, I know that happened. I've got evidence, obviously, because I have my mate with me, and you know the fact that my mum knew as well. That one was a very it's probably the most sort of poignant one I can sort of look back on in my life.
Synchronicity.
Yeah, there was definitely some synchronicity going on, and there's definitely things that we don't know about.
Oh yeah,
in terms of how our body works and what we emit and our messages and all the unconscious stuff that happens.
I think that there's more we don't know than what we actually do know.
100%, yeah, 100%. Look at the size of our brains as well, and the fact that we only use a little bit of it.
Yeah,
like this. Yeah,
wow, it's mental. It really is.
Pineal gland and all of that stuff. Like, yeah,
I know.
It's mad. It's a mad one, but yeah, that's probably the most significant things I think.
Yeah,
in terms of stuff like that.
Well, that's what I reckon the pineal gland is the third eye.
Yeah,
isn't it around that part of your head, like the temple bit?
I have no clue actually. Like anatomy-wise, is it in the middle?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Mine's on my thumb.
There's a gland in the. Can see yours is on your tongue.
Oh, it is. Oh, hello. It's the eye of Horus, in it.
Yep, that's the one. Yeah.
Nice.
One of my favourite tattoos, that.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's amazing. I think things like this, and I love hearing other people's stories as well, because it's just you know when something happens to you, and you know it's real, and you know there's no other way.
Do you not still question it though?
I don't question that one. Never.
No.
Well, you don't. If you know what you saw, and that's it.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, when we spoke on the phone the other week, it was like, you know what you saw, whether anyone else believes you or not. You know what happened. Yeah. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone or anything.
Yeah, no, and that's it. You feel like a bit of a kook sometimes, or you feel like, it really happened like that, but it really happened like that. And I've got a mate there that can sort of testify. I've got pictures of my dad's car to say it was like that. Conversations with my mum, and there's no need to sort of blag it or embellish anything. It was the way that it was, and I can remember telling it, and I'll be able to tell the same story again tomorrow to somebody. So yeah. But the ones like the little lights when I was younger, that one seems a little bit misty. But most of the stuff that's happened sort of ESP wise, or getting messages, that's all crystal, mate. That's all crystal. And it won't. Those thoughts and feelings won't leave me, because they can't. They're not going to go anywhere. You know what I mean?
Even I got goosebumps.
Yeah, I get goosebumps when I retell that story to everybody, because it was so.
It's a massive thing as well, though, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah.
I get that feeling through the body when you feel like you've hit a bit of truth.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're reading something, you come across and you think, if it's false, and you get that sort of feeling of, this isn't. But when it's true, it's like an electrifying. It's like someone's just.
Yeah, it's like an adrenaline.
A leisure battery, leisure to your bloody ass. Like, it's like that buzziness. It's like, what you can't. And then you go and try and tell them off, who's sort of a bit institutionalised and thinks I'm a bit of a
say
wag.
that.
Thinks I'm a bit of a nutcase. No, but do you know what I mean? It's like she's skeptic, couldn't believe it. Has to see it. So
Same at this end.
As far as finding people like Andy and the BBR, it was like, well, even Codes of the Unknown, it's talking to like-minded people about the experiences, ain't it? And that's...
Well, that was it. That was one of the reasons why I started this. Sorry to butt in. Is I've had so many different types of encounters. I can tell you what I seen, a lot of it, but I couldn't tell you what it was. I can just tell you my experience of it. And if someone says, well, I think it was that, that's up to them, that's their opinion. But I can't always put a title to it. I like with you with the lights, I've seen a couple of UFOs. One of them was just lights. And I just seen a blue light. It's a silver sphere. It did a electric blue coloured light across the sky, lit up bright red, 5 times the size of what it was, then just vanished. And that happened within 3 seconds. Clear sky. I had to pull over on the hard shoulder and nearly threw up. Couldn't believe what I'd seen.
What was this, daytime or night time?
During the day. And then I can tell you when it was, what day it was. When I lived in Manchester, I used to work in Bolton.
Right.
And I had a company van, but my manager wanted to borrow it to move some stuff over the weekend. So he took my van, he had a company car, so I took his car. He had the old Honda Civic.
Right.
It was I think it was an L Reg. So I'm going back 1996, 97. So I'm coming back from Bolton into Manchester, coming up towards the A580, which is East Lancs Road. And there's a big spur that comes round. And as I'm coming round there used to be a blue bridge going over near where I used to live. As I'm coming round that bit, it was under the bridge, it just went across the sky. I'm like, I was shaking and everything. I couldn't believe what I'd just seen. Clear sky. It was a Friday, because we used to finish early on a Friday, and obviously you wanted to borrow the van for the weekend. So I reckon we'd finish anything between 1 and 3 o'clock, but I remember it was being early, because I thought, I'll be home for 2 o'clock, and then I can be out for 5. Out with my mates and the beer and what have you. And it's like, could not believe it.
How big was it?
It looked like just a little ball bearing.
Yeah.
It was just that, and it was just, so it was there. Probably couple of miles away, I'd say between 2 and 5 miles, and it just was that like silver, then it just did a blue streak, a little bright red, just like, it looked like an explosion, but you could tell it wasn't an explosion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, a bit like maybe what a shooting star would look like if you were to see one in our atmosphere.
Yeah. A meteorite, but it was electric blue, and it was more red than Ryan's t-shirt. It was like proper lit up red, and then it just vanished.
Mad.
Yeah,
it's mad. That's mad.
Maybe it's just technologies that the government have got that they're just testing out.
That's what I mean. I couldn't tell you what it was. I'm not saying it was a UFO, but I don't know what I seen. I'm telling you what I seen, what colours I seen, and what happened. But going back to what I was saying, that's why I started this, because of the encounters I've had. I know there's encounters that other people have, and like with yourself, Danny, I've been talking to people that I know that don't want to put their name to stuff that's happened to them, so that obviously they want to remain anonymous.
Yeah,
and it makes it easier for them to tell their story rather than keeping it in. But I know what I've seen. I don't have, like we said before, I don't have to prove anything to anyone. You either believe me, you don't. I was there. Yeah. I know what happened. So the lot of
it is what it is, isn't it? That's why I'm not fussed about sort of remaining anonymous, because I'm just all I'm doing is just telling a story about something that happened to me. You know, it's not fiction. Right. It's non-fiction. This is this is real.
And if it was non-fiction, what is any one of us gaining out of it by putting your face to all these stories?
Exactly.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And even when you tell other people, you know, there is a level of kind of, oh my God, am I?
Who you can tell.
Yeah,
not.
I suppose you can figure out who you tell. But you know, if these kind of conversations come up, I'm more than happy to share like my stuff with my mates, because if they tell me something that random about has happened to them, I'll tell them about mine. And I've had some people that say, "Nah, mate, you're just like it was fluke," or you know, your memories are getting mixed up or stuff like that. And I'm like, "Nah, man, it is what it is, isn't it?" And you can't.
So. You don't even need to argue with that. It's just shut them off. Just
and that's what I mean.
Believe what you want.
Yeah, there's no point in arguing, because it's like, why would I? If I was innocent of something, or if I was guilty of something, you'd sort of, you know, if you was innocent, you'd be pleading, and you'd be sort of saying, like, you know, you'd be fighting your corner until the point you know, if people just weren't believing you, what would you do? You'd probably just end up laying your defence down and say, well, you know, you're not going to believe me. What can I? There's no point me fighting. There's no point. So why would I even put myself in that position?
Exactly.
To sort of to be doing that. So yeah. But yeah, it's a mad one, isn't it? It's a mad one. It's a mad one.
It really is.
But I'll have to send you the. I'll have to find that footage, and I'll send that over.
So you're all right coming on again? Because you were going to say about the other encounters with Frank.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I do. I forgot to mention that one. Yeah, but I'll tell you about those ones as well, because that's a bit more. That's a bit more on the. I don't know what you'd call it. Paranormal side, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
which I've always been a bit like, but
I have.
You know, these stories. This particular story is actually is quite a good one. It's quite a good one, and you know, my partner he's not the type of person who would, you know, fabricate something like this, and he had somebody with him as well. He had his best mate with him as well at the time. So
verification and all that.
There's verification there. But yeah, it's literally sounds like something that would be in a horror movie.
Really?
Something.
We'll do a part 2 then. That's all right with you.
Yeah, man, we could do part 2. That's all good. I'll share that one. More than happy to share that one.
Yeah, live stream.
No, I think it's be better on the podcast. Do part 2 for the podcast.
Yeah.
Right. Well then, I'm going to end it there then.
Nice one. Thanks so much for having me on, guys.
Yeah. Don't go anywhere yet. So and then we'll keep that for part 2.